it's pretty annoying when you pay some money and you get on your flight and then you come out and you want to go out on a holiday and just enjoy yourself on your bike, and then you just get completely train wrecked for the first morning and schooled, and you're just like, stuff this, why am I right? But I just want, but then the satisfaction that you have when the penny drops.
Hei og velkommen til OTBpodden, og vi i Spania, Malaga, rett og slett. Ja, vi har det. Vi har tatt tidlig tur ned til Spania for å få rekordtidlig sesongåpning for oss, men vi ble faktisk invitert ned hit.
Ja, av Switchbacks MTB.
Switchbacks MTB, og her sitter vi. We are sitting here with Micheal Saunders from Switchback MTB.
Hi guys, welcome.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's really good to have you. We're just to kind of give us the setting. We're sitting in a bar at the hotel.
Yeah.
Not like the most perfect kind of sound place.
Recording studio?
No, we were going to sit outside, but unfortunately it started raining, and we got a little bit of background music going on. So I think we'll manage.
And actually, to put a little bit of atmosphere on that, imagine something sort of done in the 1970s rather badly. And then add in a little bit of the haunting from the hotel of The Shining, and then you've got that sort of atmosphere.
Yeah. But we got a tremendous view, though, over there.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
We got a tremendous view. We got 3 pretty large beers.
Yeah.
And
you guys better catch up. I'm getting.
Yeah, we're going to have to catch up. We're
yeah.
looking a bit shy here. And we're basically all stoked on the back of like a really epic day riding, which we're going to talk a lot about, obviously. But just to give us a little bit of background, can you just like tell us a little about yourself? Who are you? Give us a quick rundown of your biking background.
Well, I was fortunate enough to get into mountain biking way back in the early days of the 80s. If anybody out there is alive listening to this, that remembers that. And I had this fortunate sort of coincidence, which is I was walking along the street and this person walked by me, and I sort of stopped as he had walked by, and he did the same thing. We both kind of turned around, looked at each other, and it was like, "Do I know you?" type thing. Anyhow, turns out, so we're about 17 or 18 at the time when this moment happens. It turns out that we had been in some, Betty's children kindergarten thing when we were about 3 years old. And we both recognized each other.
You recognize each other
from
from
we recognized it from like all that time ago.
That's hard.
And it's amazing. So, but he had moved away a long time ago. He had moved to the West Coast. Canada, my home country.
Yeah, you're from Canada. We forgot to say
exactly.
that.
But I'm from the East, not from the West. And so mountain biking sort of evolved in, let's say, in California, but then sort of spread up the West Coast of North America.
British Columbia is big on it.
Massive. I mean, and later on it would become one of the defining locations of the whole sport. But at this time, so he had got into mountain biking very, very early on in Vancouver. And then he moved back to my hometown in Ontario. And and he brought a couple of mountain bikes. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell's a mountain bike? Oh, well, let's go for a ride. And that was that. I was hooked. And that was in 1987, I guess. And then when I went to school, like sort of, post-secondary school, I tried to become a bit of a downhill racer, and that was fun. We were doing this, the Norba and the Grundig downhill series, myself and a...
Is the Norbas with like the national series in America?
Exactly.
Like
so the Norba in the United States, and then there was the Canada Cup. No, what was it called? The Canadian Club. Yeah, Canadian Club Series in Canada. And then there was the Grundig, which was the World Cup series. Grundig was a German electronics
Yeah, there's TVs and stuff. They were
Yeah,
sponsoring the World Cup of snowboarding at the time as well.
Yeah, exactly, same period. And so that was really fun. But then I finished school and I went off. I moved to the UK in 1992. And in the summer of 1993, I rode my bike. Well, this is another random story. So from London, I was going to go and do another downhill cup series called the Avalanche Cup in the Haute-Savoie in France. And I tried racing against the French for a season. Yeah. Realized that, well, they were about. I mean, this was this was like Frank Romand, Nicolas Vouillot, Francois Gachet.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the women were faster than I would, and I mean that with all greatest respect, because it's not as if I was slow. It's just that their technical capability was just on the next level, and they're all a little bit mad, aren't they? Yeah. Bless them.
There's something in the water in France.
Oh my God, there is, isn't there? They're just absolute mentalists.
The Frenchies are on the next level, yeah.
And they just have a go fast gene, and so I got out of mountain bike racing for a long time.
This is also they just discouraged you.
oh, dude! It was just like, well, obviously, okay. So I can either die trying to be half at the speed as them, or I could just like hang it up and I'll just go and become a librarian. And so I flipped the coin,
librarian,
and the librarian. And so I had loads of woolly cardies, so I just like slotted into that role straight away.
All right. Yeah. So, but I mean, from there on, like, how was your transition? How because you obviously picked it up again.
Yeah. So I was living in the UK, and so then I started. Didn't become a librarian, but almost. I became a history teacher.
Oh. Right.
Okay.
And
it's close, actually.
Yeah, that's right. So you still need the sort of
the history of mountain biking.
The patches, exactly. Well, that's again, that's another side story, which we could go down that rabbit hole. But
did you have a corduroy pants?
Oh, of course I did.
Of course.
I did. I wasn't awarded my history diploma in less. It was just
you couldn't receive it without the wearing.
You in that sick suit over there. Well, you got the finest marks, but actually you failed because you don't really smell like stuffy books, and you actually seem to have a life.
But now has Brage Vestavik destroyed the corduroy pants? Can history professors still use them, or is it too much of a?
God.
You have to drop like 50-foot cliffs.
Pass. I can't comment on such a legend.
It's hard to say.
And but the great thing about being a teacher is that you've got the summer times off, and so then, as opposed to racing against the Frenchies, well, I went bike trekking all across France, Europe, etc., and did that for many years, and so kept the cycling, the two wheels thing alive, but just not trying to kill myself, losing really, and that was just if nobody's tried it, just stop what you're doing right now and just get some panniers and give it a go. It's the most extraordinary thing, and lots and lots of stories of sleeping under bridges and having no food and getting rained on and going down dead end, because I was on a mountain bike, but so you could go off road, but then you'd get down to a river and then you couldn't get out of it, and then you're hiking up, like you're humping up your bike, which is like 100+ kilos, and I guess that says I'm a terrible map reader. But so I kept the cycling thing alive, and then I took a year out from teaching, and I went back studying, and then I was working. Excuse me. I was working at a bike shop part-time, and I was in London, and at that time cycling in the UK was really, really bullish. It was really popular. It was the road cycling team, the Sky Racing team, I think it was like really on the up. Mountain bike magazines like MBUK, MBR, all these things There was a lot of poster boys from the UK, you know, your Steve Peats and your Rob Warners, and yeah, exactly. Just and it was really, really, really buzzing. There was discounts for Joe Public from the government to get bikes, etc. And so I thought, well, why don't I set up a mountain bike holiday company? I mean, you know. So I remember I pulled out an atlas and I looked for the biggest mountains in Spain. Initially, I looked in Spain, but in Europe. Yeah. Initially, I looked in Bourg-Saint-Maurice, other place, doesn't matter. And but then it sort of all whittled down to the fact that there were short seasons, then there was winter, you know, no. And then I discovered this place called the Sierra Nevada, which was down in southern Spain, and read a little bit about the history of the place. And that was it. Probably about 6 weeks later, I had landed in Spain. I'd never been to Spain before. Wow. I didn't speak a word of Spanish. I didn't know where I was going, other than that I was going to this big mountain range. Yeah. And that was the beginning of Switchbacks.
Switchback MTB, yeah.
Which year was that?
That was in sort of the winter of 2000, 2001.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So you just
years.
There is surprised that the world didn't end at the year 2000 with
no,
the
that's
millennium
right.
bug?
Yeah, fortunately I was in the air when the millennium bug went, because the flights were so cheap, of course. It was on autopilot. I think I was the only person on the plane.
So if we skip forward to like today, basically, are you basically based here around Malaga, or you have?
So Switchback started as basically a summer riding location, because the altitude of where we're based so we have two locations. So one is Malaga, as you just said, which is where we are right now. Yep. And that's our winter location. I say that, I'm wiggling my fingers with quotation marks, because it's 18 degrees outside. So it's not exactly winter. But and then we have our summer locations, which is actually where I set up Switchbacks, which is in the Sierra Nevada in Bubion. And that's from May to the end of October. And then we're here in Malaga from November to April. Okay. And they're both basically technical enduro locations with a little bit of shuttling.
The Sierra Nevada is much higher elevation, I guess.
So the village is based at 1,300 meters.
Yeah, right. So
it's cooler in the summer, but then it's obviously a little bit too cold in the winter, hence us being down here on the coast.
But so how does the trails differ? Is it like more mountain rock? Like
oh man, I wish if like the number of times that I've asked myself that, I've been asked that, or tried to describe it, I'd be a millionaire. God, it's so difficult. They're just natural. Imagine a sculpted bike park or a trail center. Mm-hmm. Now imagine the exact opposite to that.
The antithesis.
It's exactly. There's very little sculpted. There's
like hiking trails.
Yeah, they're like old, Roman roads. Yeah. Like old pack trails, goat tracks. Yeah. Farming trails. The way that I would best describe them is that they have flow, but not like smooth flow. Yeah. They have flow, but they're over rock gardens.
You have to be a monster truck to flow.
You need to have, it's like anything, you need to have a little bit of momentum. Yeah. Not speed is your friend, but momentum is your mate, Whereas I think that on really flow track, it's like, you're on berms and you're just like, it's like you're the dog in the car window with his tongue flapping out the side of it. And you're just like, oh my God, bike parks are just the most amazing thing, because it's like, I'm a kid, I'm on a roller coaster, but I'm actually on a bike.
Yeah.
Of course that's incredible. our riding isn't like that. No, no, it is like that.
There's
but
nothing
it's
incredible about it.
but it's just that it's not smooth. It's rocky.
Yeah.
Because I think
And so you have to find your flow over the rocks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because we definitely because we arrived yesterday and we got up at like 3 a.m, got on the plane at 5:55. We were here by about 11:45, I think. Cause it's
after being picked up.
Because it's literally like 15 minutes from the airport here.
Yeah.
And then we had a bit of lunch, and then basically like by about 2 o'clock we were up in the mountains, weren't we, riding? And we didn't know what to expect. I think we were pretty nervous, and a bit tired and stuff. And it was definitely kind of like, there was a bit of a quite a brutal warm up, I think. And I think we were kind of a bit set back a bit because it's terrain that we just don't normally ride. It's like you say, it's very technical. And I was kind of a little bit in the beginning, a bit like, oh, what the hell is this? But then once you've done a little bit, you kind of start finding flow where you really didn't think there was going to be flow.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, and I think that as just continue on the sort of the comparison between this sort of a bike park and where we ride here or how we ride here. I think you sort of nailed it right there insofar as that I think that there's kind of an immediate return on bike park trails, trail centers and things because they're built to be, you got to go to work on Monday. Yeah. You don't want to break your flipping shoulder and you want your kids to get out there and you want to have fun. And that's brilliant. That's amazing for the sport. Yeah. And but the funness kind of comes almost immediately when you drop into the track, right? Yeah. And it continues all the way down until then you get back up and then you're on the next trail and you're just like, oh wow, this is even better than that amazing fun that I just had. Yeah. Here, you have to work for it. And in a way, I would suggest that in the long run, I think that the reward for you finding the flow here, which isn't just served up for you on a platter, I think that actually as you have to work for it, and then you slowly discover, oh my God, it makes you feel great as a rider. It makes you feel instantaneously that from one run to another, oh my God, I'm not actually crap as I was 15 minutes ago. I do actually still know how to ride a bike.
Yeah, because you get schooled. Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you do.
And then, like
not
you say,
in a dangerous way.
No.
But in a little bit like whoa, and foot out.
It's more. I would like you say. It's not. If you sort of rationally think about it, it's not that you're going to like die.
No.
But it's
more, not steep either.
No, it's not steep. And the
there's
speed,
no edges.
I mean,
until there are.
Yeah. There's some steep part, but I mean, you can. I can see that you can ride the stuff ridiculously quick, obviously, if you want to. There's no limits, but you don't have to ride really, really fast. So if you do come off your bike, because generally don't have like a lot of speed.
Because it's technical, you're going slow exactly where it's most biggest chance of falling.
So it's more like the fact that you're out of your comfort zone. It's stuff that you kind of don't understand, so you need a bit of time to process it, and it's just a bit intimidating. But then once you kind of get those first couple of runs down, it's like that kind of it's that very rare feeling that you get when you sort of learn something for the first time.
100%. And so that I think it's one of the reasons why people keep coming back. Like we've been doing this for more than 2 decades, and we've had some people been here like 25 times.
Yeah.
And I think it's that old dogs, new tricks type thing. I think it's like, so you guys yesterday, for example, the marked difference between first run and fourth run.
Yeah. Was it like first
where
run?
it was like, first run, I mean, I'm just reading your faces. Now, you look pretty shitty as it was because you'd been traveling all night. No, but then the paleness was added to it at the bottom of the first run, and it was just like sort of looking at each other and just like, and then at your wristwatch and like, well, maybe we should just have a siesta now because it's been a long. No, I exaggerate,
but it just pick you up on that because I very, very rarely see Vidar out of his comfort zone. And Vidar was kind of like quiet yesterday and reserved. And there was definitely like a side of Vidar that I've never seen before.
I gotta add that in opposite to you, but I wasn't nervous before.
Yeah.
I never really think that it's gonna be hard, but I just dropped in and I didn't have any balance at all. There was something. The place we were riding yesterday was very loose, like rocky things, and when you start breaking, the rocks start following you down.
Totally
steep thing. But and also it's like ruts, like a little deep, like a little cave you ride in. Means that you like the bike travels a bit up and down all the time.
100%.
Yeah, and usually the one thing that makes me comfortable is that I feel that I have some balance. Like that's been working on getting good balance and like it's sort of. And I think if I have balance, and other people can ride it, I can ride it. So that's why I don't always get nervous because I think other people have ridden here. And I have got good balance, but I felt I had shit balance or no balance at all.
Yeah.
And it took like actually more like 3 runs to get the balance back.
Welcome to my life almost every single day when I get onto these trails. Well, no, but see, so that's the just that thing which you briefly mentioned earlier, which was that that unique moment when you actually feel like you've learned something. And I think that that's one of the most amazing things about here is that I think that a lot of mountain biking, like everybody knows how to ride a bike, right? So, you know, I hope, you know, you learn when you're 4 or you're 5 or whatever, and then maybe you get into mountain biking and you go mountain biking, you go to out on your trails and it's great and so forth. But you don't actually have to do that much reflecting on how you're riding. No. You see, and so then you can very easily sort of, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful or arrogant by any means, but like that you can just like, I've got this, and then you can sort of set your limits. Like, well, actually, I'm not really an air type person, or like, oh yeah, no, I'm really getting into jumps there. And that's my next place where I want to find myself and I want to push myself and so forth. But here, for example, like a lot of people don't have experience with switchbacks. And by the name of the company, kind of suggests that there's a lot of switchbacks.
I never expected there to be switchbacks here.
No, it's right. Wait a minute. That wasn't in the
that wasn't in the deal.
That wasn't in the T's and C's. And so it's pretty annoying when you pay some money and you get on your flights and then you come out and you want to go out on a holiday and just enjoy yourself on your bike, and then you just get completely train wrecked for the first morning and schooled, and you're just like, stuff this, why am I right? But I just want, but then the satisfaction that you have when the penny drops and you slowly start putting, for example, in this case, switchbacks together, or finding flow over rock gardens, or the other thing that we do is that we just give a lot of tips, you know, because again, that whole concept of that, everybody knows how to ride a bike, but does that empower you to be able to ride switchbacks or ride rock gardens or whatever? Yeah, you know.
Shoot in here. You had a really good tip today with the switchback about the placement of your feet.
Oh yeah.
Can you explain that?
So one of the things that you hear time and time again in this game is that, oh, you know, I can't hip that way, for example, if you're a jumper, or I can't turn that way, that's turning to my bad side. Now, the reason that I believe it is that it's because everybody by default, without thinking about it, has just got their prominent foot forwards. So I ride right foot forwards, you guys may ride left foot forwards. Something decides that's just the way it is. And so when you go into a corner, I would argue, I'd almost put money on it, that people who ride right foot forwards, they can turn to their left side more easily than they can turn to their right side. Now the reason for that is because their body positioning, their hips are open to the left-hand side. their hips are closed to the right-hand side. And so then their body geometry is pointing them in one direction, even though they're going straight. The second that they need to turn, the body wants to turn left because their hips are turning them in that direction by their body positioning, by their foot positioning, excuse me. And so the second that you try to turn your bad side, i.e. I ride right foot forward, I try to turn right, my hips are facing the other way, towards the left, I can't turn right-hand corners. So what you do, you swap your feet. So on right-hand corners, your left foot forward goes first. So whatever hand on your handlebar is forwards when you're turning a corner, that's the foot that is forwards.
Yeah.
And then
or said in another way, the outside foot
is
on the
forward.
turn is out forward.
Yes. Is always forward, not down. Not down, and I would stake my reputation on that. Their feet have always got to be level, and whatever foot, the outside foot is forwards.
Because that was a real eye-opener for me, because you said that to that, and I don't think it consciously, but in our heads, you kind of have this idea that I know everything, and then you mentioned that, and I was just like, oh my God, like I've never thought of that before. And you also mentioned about keeping your feet level. Yeah. And like you said, because a lot of the switchbacks here, they're not like super groomed. Nobody's been out there with like a little comb combing them. There's like stones. It's janky. Yeah. And you think when, like you were saying about, we were talking about earlier, like when you first start riding here, you kind of like, there's no flow. Or it's very difficult. It's quite challenging. And a lot of the switchbacks, there is flow. Yeah. But you just got to have the right technique, and you also got to believe that, okay, there's like exit stones, as we call them, like rather than the Infinala that was exit trees, here is exit stones.
So just catching you, crashing you if you go wild.
Yeah, wide. It's like that one thing on the exit where you really want to just be able to like kind of let it go and flow out, and then it kind of catches your front wheel a bit and stuff. But like you say, if you just kind of, because I was definitely doing it in the beginning, I was doing the classic like, dropping my outside foot, putting my inside foot down, looking right at the front wheel and not looking where I wanted to go and stuff. Yeah. And you can really, and after you had said that today, there was definitely a few sort of aha moments. And then also on the other side, the flip side was a couple of times I was like, oh, that didn't go very well. I dropped my outside foot. Yeah.
And so that's the one of the most wonderful things about this sport is that the sky is the limit about how good you can get or how confident you can become as a rider. It doesn't matter about speed. It's just, like I always think that like the funnest ride that I have is one where I don't have to pedal and yet I feel like I'm just almost flying. I just feel like I'm 13 again, riding unstoppable, just invincible. And it just sort of flows, and that's when you have to reflect back on yourself about exactly as we were just talking about the foot positioning, or as I was saying to you yesterday about positive and negative space. When you have to actually analyze what you're doing, then you just get better at it, right? You get better, which means that your amazing hobby that you spend all this time and money and effort into just becomes that much more rewarding. Yeah. And then so you've ticked off another year in your life and actually you've got better at something. How many things can you say about that? Yeah. Most things in life as you get older, well, at least in my case, just sort of go a little bit south really, but if you can still keep on baby steps, and then the trail becomes different. And that's the great thing about like over a long weekend here, over a week, the trail just completely morphs and you just read it utterly different, even between day one and day two. You see the trail as a different trail. It's like Matrix style, Yeah. And then, and just in 48 hours, you're a different mountain biker. And that is cool, man. That is.
Yeah, today was quite developing for us already. And it is so funny because we rode it was the first trail we rode?
Yeah, I was going to say, like the first trail we rode today.
Oh, yeah, that's such an excellent case.
I got down and I thought...
3 more beers?
Yes, 3 more beers. Yeah. Beer break.
Tres por favor.
Trenger mer øl.
Ja, vi trenger mer øl.
Enormes.
Ølpause.
Sí.
Ja. Da skal jeg spise litt sånn her.
No, I was just going to say, like, because tell us a little about, because you saw it obviously from a different perspective as to we experienced. Like, I mean, first trial today, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. And I got to the bottom, got schooled again. It's okay. And I thought, and my first thought was like, I'm so glad I'm never gonna have to ride that trail again. Like, you know? And then I remember you, and then you said like, we're gonna ride it again. Like not straight away, but like we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about your.
And you also said it's gonna be got much better or money back.
Exactly that. And but then I told the other, and. So this is the sort of psychology of sport, isn't it? And the muchísimas gracias. The cold beers have arrived.
They're not small either.
That's good.
So, sí, porfa. So do you guys measure the length of your podcasts in how many? So that was like a 6-pint long podcast.
After a few beers, after a certain number of beers, we have to stop.
Have to stop, otherwise it
just gets silly.
Just gets a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, we were. The second run and your take on it.
And it's the sports psychology of things, isn't it? It's that like, so you go down and again you sort of get your ass handed to you, and so you're a little bit rusty first thing in the morning, like the first run, etc. And it's really fascinating. One of the things that I said to you earlier is that so you guys came down your second trail. Yeah. Which was not the same one as we'd done on the first one, and you were like all high-fiving and like butt smacking and oh my God, mountain biking is just the greatest thing ever, giving me the evils because I'd taken you down that first trail that tried to ruin your spirits, crushing. Yeah. And all the while I was biding my time. No, so we did another one on trail number 2, and then we went back before lunch back to trail number 1, and I was convinced that you would just see it as a totally different thing. And indeed, everybody just came down from everybody having not a grump after the first run, but just like, and it's so fascinating that. How is it that the same person, the same day, same bike, same age, same breakfast, it hadn't rained, had it? It didn't change. And yet it was a completely different trail. Yeah. And everybody came down saying, oh my God, that was amazing. Can we do that again after lunch? Yeah. From the first run thinking, well, stuff that. That was just bollocks. That wasn't a mountain bike trail.
And there was like sections that like the first time that I think it was like, there was at least one, maybe, there was one section I walked. And then there was another one where I kind of messed up and couldn't get going and had to kind of like just.
So when you flew over the handlebars. Right after I had flown over the second
time, it was just like, oh God, that was the section I walked down, and I just rode through it without even thinking.
Oh no, but that was so excellent. And on the second run, you came by me, and I'd stuffed it up. I was trying to thread the line. And I'd gone off of it, and I was like, here, and then you just went flaming by, and then you were like, yes, and then just when you got to the easy bit, then you just face planted it,
right over the bars,
still with a massive grin.
But I didn't care because it was like,
that's right, survived the hard bit.
You were already celebrating, so
exactly.
OTB wouldn't have.
He went by, and I was thinking, why are his arms up in triumph off of his handlebars in this rock garden?
No, but it's so true. It's like, and like you're saying, it's just fascinating how. From the first time to being like, I hope I never have to ride that again, to the second time we're like, was that actually the same trail? You
can't really be sure.
Yeah, it was just, and I think again that's what's so good about coming somewhere like that, where you get pushed out of your comfort zone, and you really start realizing like just how good not only yourself is, but also the bikes as well.
100%.
and it's like, oh, that element, and maybe you go home and think, oh, that line there where I thought I was going to go over the
so
bars.
I was just going to say,
all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, stuff like that was good in Malaga.
you completely change the way that you will forevermore ride any trail, but for sure your home trails, which then basically, you know, you come out here, you get a nice holiday and whatever, have a few laughs and learn some stuff, but then you go back home and it lives with you forever on your home track, the stuff that you ride all the time, because you just see all these lines that never occurred to you before, didn't exist, and it isn't that why we're doing this? It's like to hang out with mates, have a few laughs, scare ourselves, and push our limits. And that isn't to say that all the stuff here, like for your listeners out there, I hope that it hasn't sounded like, well, you know, I'm going to turn off this podcast now because, well, actually, this is kind of not for me, because it sounds like these guys are obviously professionals and this and that and the other. Obviously, you listeners have no idea who you're listening to. No, so there's a real mixture. I mean, like, so here in Malaga, for example, there's days which you could ride a hardtail down most of the trails, you know, and then other days which are a combination of the two, of like really fast flow, smooth to.
Or because the soil is different?
Yeah, so here in Malaga we have sort of like 5 or 6 different locations, and each location has got a different personality. Yeah. So one of them is like riding in Utah, if anybody's ever ridden there, like Moab type stuff. Yeah. So kind of slick rock, high speed, fast flow, big grin, get back in the van, do it 27 times before lunch, and then want to do it 30 times again after lunch. Fully shuttled stuff. Yeah. Again, when you shuttle the same track a couple of times, you don't have to worry about, you know, what's on the trail. You can worry about how you're riding it, as opposed to like what's around the next corner, which equals improvement. Yeah. And then, you know, then the next day you might go to another location which is like sandy, and you know, and then the following day it's soily, rooty. So, you know, each location is a little bit like you're in, you know, you're almost in your own. You go to a different country. Yeah. It feels like, and there is some pedaling in both locations. So, you know, I guess like for your Norwegian audience, I think that Malaga is the place which would be most interesting for you, because we're open in the wintertime, and that's precisely when you guys are finding it difficult to ride. Our summer location is great for riding in every way, but it doesn't really apply to this chat. I'm just saying that. I don't know whether you guys agree with that or not. But.
Yeah, because that's what we thought, actually, that it would be really good way to start the season, because it's always a bit slow start on the season. You're like rusty after winter, and maybe I like to do something different in the winter as well, just to not get tired of it.
Yeah, mentally as well.
Mentally,
you know, to break up the darkness,
and keep the enthusiasm. And there's always a little bit of rusty.
Give you an excuse to be able to buy a new €300 reared mech as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. New set of tires.
We have to prioritize things.
New set of tires, definitely.
Child's present or...
Yeah.
But then the start in Norway is also a bit slow, because snow melts in different places at different speed.
Sure.
So when you go here and just get the full-on experience straight away, I think it has accelerated my season already today.
Definitely a trial by fire, and I think we passed,
quite a lot.
hopefully, I think. But just on the back of what you're saying about skills and stuff, I mean, like, you know, because we had different skill levels in the group today. And then, like, I was amazed, like, one of the guys, he said English guy, he said he's going to be a pensioner next year. Yeah. And he started mountain biking 4 years ago.
It's insane, isn't it?
And he wasn't like I don't think he was he wasn't mad, but he was like so stoked, you know. And, you know, he walked down a few stuff and then rode that same stuff, like second run, and, you know, So it's definitely it is technical, it is challenging, but I think most people, I think pretty much everyone who listens to this podcast definitely would benefit from riding. And worst case, that particular thing, you just walk down it.
Yeah.
Oh, and you won't be the first nor the last person to do so.
No,
you got to be prepared to walk.
Yeah, indeed. And that's the great thing about, like, if you do. So today, for example, we did 2 different, like, what were they? Sort of 15 minutes in length, I guess. Well, obviously with stops and so forth. So let's say it was 30 minutes top to bottom. And we did those 5 or 6 times, but it was effectively 2 different trails with a couple of different entrances. And your man there, like you say, he's going to retire 8 days after tomorrow when he flies back. Yeah. He's been here for the week. Yeah. And he's got balls, man. Like he just dives into stuff. But the great thing, I think like today, what he and I were riding down there together, and he was following the line and this and that and the other, and I was really concerned about today being his and the other English couple's final day, because it's like either this roll of the dice is going to work, because today, for your listeners, today is not easy. It's really tricky, and the weather conditions recently have made them even more tricky.
Yeah, because the listeners don't know this, but it was like terrible rain a few days ago. Like really, like 100 millimeters.
Exactly. Yeah, in like 3 hours.
In Norway, that would destroy. Perhaps in the western coast it would work.
Again, that's like a standard morning before.
For them,
before coffee.
No, for us in Oslo, it would close down the city.
Sure.
Destroy everything
altogether.
Every trail would be destroyed. I never seen 100 millimeters in a morning.
No, it was mental. Yeah. So despite that, the trails, sure, they had a little bit of carnage in moments, but largely, and so just. Like for him today to finish for all 3 of them to finish their last day of the week on such hard stuff. Do you remember when I was joking with them? I was like, like a Boy Scout analogy, you're going to get your Switchbacks badge next to your campfire badge. Yeah. Because he did so well, he just owned it, and you could just see that he was just glowing inside of. And I mean that's amazing, like you say, a pensioner type thing to. So like...
Yeah, I just find that so inspiring.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's great to see.
The best part about the job, for sure. It really is.
So you mentioned earlier about...
That they never could have dreamed of.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned earlier, like you gave us one tip about sort of the foot forward and the switchbacks, but you also, like you gave me a tip about, and you said it quite early on, about there's... Maybe you have like slightly different body position, you sort of stand a bit more in the bike, and just give us a little like... What just describe that a little bit as well. So
I call it. So there's for those of you out there who've been riding a bike for a long time. Old school geometry mountain bikes required you to have a particular body position, which was largely bent legs and stretched arms, because the geometry of the bikes was just trying to kill you, frankly, right? But as geometries improved and they got better and safer, thankfully, our body positions were able to morph with those. Thing is that if you've been riding for a long time and you still ride a new geometry bike with old school body geometry, you've kind of got not a very good storm there. And by that I mean that you've got, your weight is back, and you've got a 29er on with a very slack head angle way out in front of you. That means that when you're trying to steer a corner, you can't steer, because basically I think what I was saying to you is that the pressure in the palms of your hands shifts from the handlebar in the palms of your hands to sort of the fingertips of your hands, which means that because your weight's back, the pressure is in your fingertips, you're slightly pulling up the front end of the bike. Now that's the worst thing that you can be doing when you're trying to steer. But a lot of
shouldn't feel your fingers pulling on the bars.
no. You should have equal weight, equal pressure in the palms of your hands as the balls of your feet. And so what you want to do from old school body position, which was straight arms and bent legs, you want to have straight legs and bent arms. So when you're actually riding down a trail, you can just have a quick glance at your arms, see how bent they are. You can use that as like a barometer. And if your arms are bent, that largely suggests that your legs are quite straight. That means that you've got 50-50 weight balance. It means that you're in the neutral position of the bike. It means that you've got grip over the front, grip over the back. It means that you can steer. Yeah. And the other thing I think that we were talking about was also about positive and negative spaces, and which is, what's the best way to describe it? So, everybody's been riding down a trail and they're like, oh, bollocks, there's that rut. I'm not going to go in the rut. Oh, fuck's sakes, I'm in the goddamn rut. And then you try to steer out of it and you lose your balance, you step out or whatever. So imagine a rut is negative space. Now imagine that there isn't a rut, but you're riding along on a trail and there's a rock feature, let's say, which forms a kind of natural rut in between those things. Now a lot of people in that situation will see that the rut or the negative space in between the rocks is actually where I have to ride. Yeah. Even though shortly before, when they were riding on a little bit of rutted soil or something, the rut was the worst place to be. Yeah. So why does that happen? So that's what I call the rut being negative, and negative space, and rocks or the soil on the side of the rut being positive space.
Yeah, so you want people to see the rock and think, I'll ride over the rock?
Correct.
Yeah.
The rocks are your friends.
I'm just going to explain it, because maybe not all Norwegians know what the rut is. Det altså en liten sånn kløft som har blitt etter at man har syklet lenge på et sted, eller vann har rent et eller annet sted, så blir det litt sånn kløft som man kan sykle ned. Sorry. Just because it is...
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, because there was a feature yesterday that I had a bit of a problem with, where it was like, it was quite rough and technical in, and then there was like a really kind of narrow, like to me it was just like, the most narrow space ever. It was like 1 millimeter wide.
Oh yeah. And your pedals are going to get stuck.
Yeah.
And then if not, then it's your rear mech which will get ripped off.
Yes,
after
absolutely.
your pedals have been
Definitely
stuck.
Cracked frame. Definitely over the bars.
Face planting.
Definitely 4 months in hospital.
That's right. Totally. Definitely long explanation to the wife about how.
And even if you manage to get through this impossibly narrow 1 millimeter, threading a camel through a needle thing, then there was like a guaranteed death
on the back sides.
Yeah. So like the negative energy was like maxed out.
Yeah. And then your feet were just like, stuff that. Okay, I'm touching Mother Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's an excellent example of like that negative space. You're looking at the space in between the obstacles, where you have to be looking at the obstacles as the space to get you around the negative space. Yeah. So a rut is a bad thing when you're riding on a fire road or a single track. So don't turn a rut in a rock garden into a good thing.
Yeah.
No. Ride that. So stuff like that you haven't really thought about or unless you like have way too much time on your hands and you need to get a life, evidently like myself, that to think about this stuff, how it affects me and other people riding or whatever, it makes a huge difference, because then translate that to where there's actually not a narrow gap where you think you're going to die and so forth, but actually that there's just rocks in a row. Yeah. Oh, well, those are all rideable, overable.
All big rocks, straight, close to each other. I can ride it, especially with a 29er.
Totally. It's like, you have to imagine that the rocks are like, imagine that you are like a rock on water, like you're skimming a stone along the water. And as long as the rock stays on top of the water, it's in positive space. And it dances across, and so it's almost like it's dancing across those rocks. And then the second that it goes into negative space, well, it sinks down to the bottom, right? So as long as you try to use those, so you have to sort of almost reverse the way that you look at the trail. And when you do, then the trail just completely changes. Because as opposed to just riding on the line, the path, the gap in between something, we start actually then playing with the trail and like, well, actually I'm going to ride up and over that. And one of the most important things about riding the positive space is your mind. Why you want to ride the positive space is not only is it physically easier to get over it, but actually the second that you ride over it, there's a little bit of a penny that drops inside of you and says, look at what I just did there.
Yeah.
Right? Gives you confidence. Second that you have confidence, you feel good about yourself. You see the next rock, give it a go, gives you more confidence. All the while, what that does, calms your mind. When you have a calm mind, you have a calm body. It means that then you can ride the trail in a loose, relaxed fashion so that your body becomes the best suspension on it, etc. You just become more zen on the bike. Whereas if you're trying to go into the negative spaces because you're avoiding the rock because they look terrible and scary, that isn't really positive mental feedback, is it?
Yeah.
You see? So it's a very key psychological plus.
But that's related to another like human error that eyes get drawn to the danger, which could be good in some situations. Definitely bad when you're going fast down the trail.
Yeah.
Your eyes should be drawn to the safe
Sure.
space, not the dangerous space. So,
I think you're right. I think that we're just drawn to avoidance or to steer clear or to like if I'm going down something and I'm trying to turn a corner and it's getting a little bit steep and I can't really stop myself, I keep on putting my weight further and further and further back because I'm getting away from the dangerous thing that's approaching me. Whereas the exact opposite is what you should do, which is that you should straighten your legs, bend your arms to put your weight over the front, and then you can steer.
Yeah. And this is true for so many things. Like,
oh, for God's sake, shut up.
Your Apple Watch wants to talk with us. Yeah, but like, okay, when I was a kid, I was really like into like bow and arrow shooting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not like the actual sport, but
I'm interested as to where this is going.
Yeah, but
just going out and hunting polar bears.
There's a good point to this if you're
seal clubbing or something.
Yeah,
no, that was the Canadian pastime. Thank you very much. That's our turf. Thank you very much.
One of my heroes was when I was reading books as a child was like the Robin Hood and stuff. But anyway, I would try to like Robin Hood to get really good at hitting stuff. But I found the best way of hitting stuff was not like aiming across something. It was just staring at exactly the spot you want to hit. Just staring at it. And the body sort of, just due to experience, found a way to point the arrow in the... Because a bow, you cannot point it directly at the thing you want to hit because when it's not centered. If you had probably you could make a bow now that has a hole in the middle of it, so you could shoot the arrow straight. But the arrow actually moves on the side because it goes on the side of the thing you made. Yeah, so like in the same way, if you like try gaming like a car simulator stuff, if you start looking at stuff, you're gonna hit it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and you look. Yeah.
It's the same with like I experienced today with like we were talking about exit stones on the switchbacks.
Yeah. If you look at them,
I came around the switchback and I was like, if I hit that stone, I'm going to go over the bars. And it's like, did I hit that stone? Of course I hit that stone. Because I was looking at it.
So the point is, look at where you want to go, not where you don't want to go.
No, look where you want to be, not where you are.
Look at the solutions, not the problems.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
And that's what I was doing yesterday. Was like when I came over to that thing, all I was looking was that fucking rock on the side.
Yeah.
That was going to be like instant death and shift the world's access and
totally
spiraling into hell. Yeah, exactly. So, but just like I mean, just quickly, like we talked a lot about technique and stuff, but is there anything with like riding this sort of stuff, bike setup? that you sort of see
Yeah.
people kind of change when they come in? They're kind of like, because obviously
Yeah.
like where we come from, like, and I would imagine most people that come here, it's not it's quite dissimilar to what they usually ride.
So first of all, I mean, I think that the perfect sort of bike for here is like 29er, either mullet on the back or 29er on the back, 150 travel, 160 forks and above kind of thing.
Yeah.
Enduro bike is ideal because actually there is a little pedaling on some days. Like most days are actually fully shuttled, but there's just such amazing, epic, off the charts, incredible enduro tracks if you don't mind pedaling for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, of just an easy conversational sort of gradient climb. So that out of the way, I think that one of the the two main things are tire pressure. So a lot of the surface around here is rocks, and now you guys in Norway, you guys will have a lot of natural rocky trails, sharp edges.
Just normal natural trails. That's
Not so much
most-
rocks, but
it's more like roots.
yeah.
Oh, is it still more rooty?
More
Is it?
Slicky
yeah.
route.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
of course, on the western coast, it's a little more rocky.
Yeah, where we
Okay,
ride in
interesting.
Oslo, it's pretty rooty and forest.
So when it's rooty, you can afford yourself to have lower tire pressures.
Yeah.
Out here, you definitely want to max those up. So as in by a lot, particularly your rear wheel.
Yeah.
There's a couple of reasons for that. It's better for punctures. It defends your rim, but also if you combine that high pressure rear wheel with that body positioning that we were talking earlier about having your bent arms and straight legs. Once you get into that jibe about riding with that new body position and the high tire pressure, you can actually start to steer with the back end of your bike because the tire will skid more. So the back end of the bike will sort of drift a little bit more for you, which is super satisfying. That 2 times that you do it in the week here by accident. Well, at least that's my track record with it. But when you do it, it just feels great. No, but it's a little bit more serious than that. That on the front wheel in particular, you want to have the higher pressures, but you also need to have higher pressures in your suspension forks because and dial up your low speed compression as well. Probably mostly just to be able to keep the front end of the bike up in the air because there's a few sort of higher speed compression type impacts that you'll have around here where you don't want the bike sort of diving under you. And so where in rooty sort of Northern European climbs, you'll be running in PSI, sort of 17 to 19 pressures, let's say. And I don't know, it obviously is fork specific, the pressures that you'd run on that, but let's say you're running 145 on a Fox or something like that, or excuse me, anyhow, it doesn't matter. You want to up the tire pressures and you want to put more pressure in your fork to keep
Yeah, because
the front
I
end of the
turn up
bike
the low speed compression 1 click and the high speed compression 2 clicks because I was finding because it's in Norway, I would say like what we ride normally you would get like a rough section, but it's short, and then you get like a reprise afterwards.
Yeah.
So you can kind of ride it out, but here it's like kind of
It's pretty relentless.
It's pretty relentless, you know. So I was definitely like in the beginning having a problem with my fork diving. If you can imagine like the height of your wheel axle,
Yeah.
that's the kind of height, like a lot of compressions. And when you got 1 or 2 of them, that's fine. When you got 3, 4, 5, and then a turn and
Yeah, and that
helps a lot, definitely.
Yeah, and see your head
Big
when
difference.
that was happening,
Yeah.
would have just been like a scrambled egg, because you're like thinking, okay, so I was told that I need to like keep my legs straight and bend my arms, and yet with that body position, my forks are diving underneath me.
Yep.
That's just augmenting the fact that I want to fly out over the handlebars,
and then you're
which
moving
is
your
not
body
doing my
position
headspace
back.
anymore.
Yeah.
And so then stuff that, I'm going to put my weight back, right?
Yeah.
When
Yes.
all it is down to, as you suggested, 1 or 2 clicks on your fork.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Totally.
it.
Yeah.
And a bit of tire pressure.
Yeah.
And but that's all stuff that we do just as par for course with. I mean, some people don't like being told to, but that's fair enough. But I think most people are appreciative to because they're not on their home turf, and things are different. And
You notice quite quickly that things are different.
oh, you really do.
Yeah, you really do.
You really do. You guys, that was so fun yesterday actually, because we were on the SRAM test track, and mostly because I was really keen to. You guys had just arrived, and you're not here. You're only here for a few days, and so I just wanted to pack in the riding, and so was it. You were going. I dropped you a little bit into the deep end, as the trail suggests, and it was pretty amazing the difference that 2 hours made.
Yeah.
Of the riding there. That one. Do you remember that steep roller that you guys did?
Yeah.
Where there was whoa kind of thing
yeah.
after you got down it, because I reckon that you were just both holding your breath on the way through. Again, nothing of the stuff that we're talking about here that you have to ride. Well, except the rock gardens.
Yeah, but I think that's also it's a bit of the mindset here is kind of what I experienced when we both rode in Finale and in Madeira, is that you have to remember that these are trails that are built for riding. So in Norway, a lot of the stuff we ride, it's, nothing's built. It's all natural trails. Yeah. If you've not been there before, you do have to check what's on the backside.
If you go over a rock that looks like it's rideable, it might be something terrible behind it.
Yes, exactly. Whereas here,
you guys are just made for riding in Spain, man. That's why you came along. And you've been hiding this from me all this time. I was just thinking, oh my God, either I'm the best teacher in the world or they're the best riders to learn new shit ever. It's down because you guys are riding natural tracks all the time. Oh
yeah, we do,
amazing.
but we cannot trust them, so that's
Yeah,
why we have a bit of trust issues with the first run.
Just have trust issues with planet Earth, actually.
But when you get past that, it's after a while, it's okay, most things can be rolled, and there is a catch berm, and says he went over the bars twice today.
But you were laughing at each one of them.
Ironically, you were doing it after the.
No, that's the silly thing, isn't it?
But I was kind of happy that it happened, because I remember you've said this before, Vidar. It's almost better to get the first little kind of stupid crash out of the way, because
100%.
Then everything because you'll naturally just think that if you get off the bike, if you're thrown off, you're going to die. Or be in hospital for 20 weeks or so. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to knock this table 20 times. But
and I never puncture either.
No. Did you puncture?
I gotta tell this story, because we were starting to talk about tires in the car.
Yeah.
And I was saying these Continental Enduro tires.
Yeah.
I found that is the limit. If I go down to Exo Plus tires, I can rip them usually in the first ride, but the Continental Enduro tires is not that much heavier. It's just a little smidge more protection, and I haven't punctured in 3 years, and
12 and a half minutes later.
12 and a half minutes later.
Yeah. Actually, you also cursed the van, because all 4 tires on the van were punctured as well.
I've lost my train of thought completely anyway, but no. If we move on,
we got the first crash away.
That was what we were talking about. We're kind of almost finished with our second beer.
You found that you're not made of glass.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you said before. And it's kind of okay, obviously you can injure yourself, but it was kind of small crash. You're not gonna.
Yeah, slow motion OTB is not that bad.
I think that's also kind of a good thing about here is that. For all of you out there that have been riding in the Alps, those trails are really fast.
Yeah.
They're really fast. And so if you're coming off your sort of rag-dolling down, right? Around here, like you're either, like you have a silly, like OTB of like, oh shit, you know, because of the technical nature of it. And so like, it might be technical, but it's not dangerous. Yeah. And I can say that without jinxing anything, because honestly, in the last, God, we've been doing this for forever. In a winter season, which is 6 months long, and we maybe have, on average, 10 people here a week, more or less, for that whole time. God, I'm just trying to remember, but I mean, it's probably 3 trips to a hospital a winter. Yeah. And that's to like get somebody's wrist x-rayed, you know? And so that's the kind of oxymoron of this place, is the technicality of it, but it's not, I don't think it's dangerous. Have you guys felt like that it's been dangerous insofar as like... I thought the
same thing you said now, that, and I tried to tell James every time he got the jitters, that it's really not, it's really technical, but it's really not that dangerous, because you're going slow, and it's the roll-ins aren't that high, really.
No. It's all right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, even like that little sort of channel thing that I got hung up on yesterday, that was more of a sort of, you know, just got off a plane, I've slept 4 hours.
That was like first,
and it was...
And the power of the negative
really
space.
bad. I wrote down it, but I had the first one I stopped. And
then you kind of did a sort of
half
like
meter back, and then I took it.
Yeah.
Just because it was surprisingly narrow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to have to reveal all now. I was just trying to kill you both off yesterday. No.
but having said that, like afterwards, like it was like there was like another feature that came.
Yeah.
You gave us a really good description of like what was coming, and you were just like, James, just follow my
like
wheel.
The boat upside down one.
And I went from like, you know, I was in the basement. I was going to sell my bike. I can't ride my bike. You know, I'm
no
hopeless.
point to riding bikes
My wife is
anymore.
going to divorce me when I get home.
Yeah.
My kids hate me. You know, and then like 2 minutes later, I was like up on top of the mountain.
For sure.
Yeah,
Legend.
and like the world was
anybody
like
want my
oyster.
autograph?
Yeah. And that's,
and that is cool.
But you've had, if we're going to, we're kind of slapping each other's backs and doing high fives. You've had some pretty big names here.
Yeah.
Tell us about the guys.
Tell us a little about that. The people who can ride. The people who can ride a bike.
Actually, fast people.
Oh my God, and it is really amazing to see people who really know what they're doing, and it's inspiring and then humbling, but so when we opened up here in Malaga, it was in 2006, I guess it was 2005, 2006. And there was a local riding scene here, which was really cool, and like people, it was a little bit Wild West insofar as, you know, sort of get a flat bed kind of like often like a tow truck, and people would just sit on the back of it and ride into battle, going up these dusty shuttle roads. And there has been in the past year, there's been a fair bit of mining on the coastal mountains here, and so then you get these really nice miners' roads, shuttle roads, access roads, and the local guys just went out and just cut in tracks. And so, as I suggested earlier, that we started from our Switchback started in Sierra Nevada, but when I moved down here to have a winter location, Malaga was called switchbacksdh.com. It was a downhill only downhill bikes, full face helmet, mostly flat pedals, full body armor, fully shuttled. And this was the first riding location. Switchbacks was the first winter downhill riding location in Europe. And so as a result, all the teams out there and the riders and so forth and manufacturers, etc., that needed to test stuff all of a sudden had a test location. And so, man, you know, not to name drop, but it's perhaps easier to, well, I mean, oh, you know, oh God, from your team syndicate guys of, you know, Josh Bryceland and Greg Minar and PT obviously, and the Athertons, to Sam Hill, to Danny Hart, to oh gosh, help me. Yeah. Aaron Gwynn, thank you. Yeah. You know, on and on and on. Nathan Rennie. Haven't thought about it for a lot of years. And then after the sort of the downhill teams, then the EWS teams coming out. So Zaka and Robin.
Yeah. Zaka, who is Norwegian now, is Swedish.
Yeah, so it's one parent's, his papa is Norwegian, no?
Yeah, he grew up in Norway and he was on the Norwegian downhill team. But then he started riding enduro, and then he was also on the Norwegian team. But it was like the Battle of Nations or something like that in Liguria. And,
correct.
Yeah,
when he rode with Alexander Kangas.
And then they just had to go on a Swedish team because Norway didn't send anyone, and then he just turned Swedish.
I think that
he's half Swedish.
I think that it was down to a support thing. Ultimately.
Yeah, it was support. It was the Norwegian.
It was just that the Norwegian Sikkerforbund early in the mid 2000s. It was like primed. It was really, really, really a great organized body, and there was a lot of funding and so forth. And so so in 2008, actually, there was the banking crisis across the world, and Switchbacks almost closed down. Really? And you know who saved us? No. Norway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the Norwegian downhillers. That Norway wasn't affected by it. By the banking crisis, and there was the Sikkerforbund that had this money, and so you guys came over in droves and droves and droves, and Zaka was one of them, lots and lots and lots, and oh gosh, so many names, so many years ago. But so it sort of bridged the gap between those sort of lean years, and Switchbacks Malaga and Norwegian downhillers were really what actually kept the ship afloat, and then with that the professional teams, as we were just saying, and you know, so hence the SRAM test track, or the Greg Minar test track, or the you know, the anyhow, enough of the name dropping, but the you know what I mean. It's and then the EWS teams came out as the bikes morphed and the downhill tracks changed from the nature of the trails here, and
obviously so the bikes have evolved as well. So
that's it.
Stuff that you normally, like back in the day, you had to have a downhill bike. Now you've got an enduro bike, which is almost like slacker and everything than a downhill bike.
Better and rolling better and so forth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where that's the other amazing thing about this sport, is that it's constantly changing. The technology is constantly changing. Geometries, materials, you know, riding styles, concepts, and you know, and that's what again just makes it so fun to be part of it, to be part of the history of it, to have seen it change over the last 25 years of being part of the story.
So we mentioned like very early on the podcast, like it's basically like from when you picked us up at the airport, it was like 15 max 20 minutes drive.
Yeah.
And we're staying at this hotel here. So you got a deal with this hotel here? Kind of.
Not much of one.
Not much of one. But it's what I really like was like.
But it's like you have a little workshop down here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Storage,
like, there's a good bike storage space.
Yeah.
You know, there's workshop and...
No, it's all there. So we have it's
Yeah.
great. It's absolutely, all joking aside, this hotel is absolutely brilliant because it's 5 minutes walk from the center of town. It's 15 minutes drive from Malaga Airport.
Yep.
We have our own wing of the hotel where everybody stays. And each of the rooms has got their own little terraces, you know, like with your table and chairs there. So it's ace because directly in front of those terraces is the parking area for our vans. So, you know, literally you walk out of your hotel room and there's the van and you just chuck your kit into it for the day. And then you turn left and there's the workshop and there's the bike storage. And then across behind the vans is the wash station for the bikes. So, and I don't know about you guys, but I mean the buffet breakfast is pretty darn fab, and the morning of the sunrise coming over, that's not a bad way to start the day.
Yeah, and it was really nice. Just like, yeah, literally like walked out of our room and like that the shuttle starts there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
I've never experienced anything that easily set up for you, like from where you sleep to where you go into the shuttle van. It was like
no, it's almost like
10
you can
meters.
smell the exhaust on your pillow.
I could actually.
No, that's James's ass, actually.
James's exhaust.
I'm not going to argue with that.
You can't. You have no grounds to.
I can't. All right, so we're almost going to like dive into like the third beer now, but I think we're just going to sort of wrap things up a little bit now. And we usually have like some questions that we ask everyone. So if you were to choose like one rider that you could ride it for a day with, who would that be?
John Tomac.
Yeah.
Tomac.
Yeah.
Right, nice.
And why is that?
I guess he had a great mullet.
Yeah, that's good.
He basically rode he downhilled on effectively a road bike. Actually, it was a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
used that
at
loosely.
that time, the geometry was much like a road
But
bike.
everybody was.
Yeah.
But you know what he did? He put road handlebars
He
on
did?
his,
No way.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. And he rode downhill. Try doing that, anybody out there.
No way.
And let
I'm
us
not
know
gonna
how
try
you
that.
get on. All right? So, and he was just a legend, and he was just humble, and he was just, and he won the downhill world championships. He won the cross country the cross country world championships, and he won the climbing world championships.
Probably on the same bike.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. over the
Usually
years.
just change tires at that time.
Not even, probably, you know. Didn't drop the saddle on the descents, you know, long stems, you know, just and this is not to take anything from anybody else, but I mean just like wow. Yeah. And also it harkens me back to my days when I first started riding. So you know, when men were men and mountain bikes were mountain bikes and tires were maximum 1.75. And if you held them up to the sun, they were transparent.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And what bike skill do you wish you had?
Oh, dude, all the circus tricks.
Yeah?
All like endos, wheelies, tabletops.
Yeah.
That I'm shit at all that kind of stuff.
You can't manual?
Oh, no. I hate that fucking word. No, it's so annoying when everybody just does it so effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like my bloody guides. I'm
Yeah.
going to fire them all, actually.
Every time you see a manual, you just fire it.
The
it's
guy we
just like-
saw today with mullet and he had leopard skin pants on yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah, he can manual.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like
Moving
a
swiftly on.
You can't have a mullet and leopard skin pants.
No,
no,
and
no.
the tash, and the
And the
tash,
tash,
and the
yeah,
tash.
mustache,
No,
yeah.
he looked like a 1970s porn star pulling a wheelie.
Yeah.
That's my guide, by the way, Ruben.
Right. And if you could choose like one trail anywhere in the world, like which one would you choose?
Oh gosh, you know what? So the qualifier to the Mega Avalanche, from like the mid 2000s, that was a really nice trail. It's a really nice trail. Because it's super varied and oh gosh, that's a great trail. Oh boy, there's so many good trails, isn't there? Closer to home, I'm such a trail slut. That's the problem, is that I kind of like riding anything because it's all, you know, how bad is it that you're on your mountain bike, you know? But there's one up in at our summer location. It's called For 6 Inches Only.
Yeah.
And that was named when we were back riding hardtails. So then, to put that into context, it's an old Roman road, and by God, if anybody wants to know what the Romans have done for us lately, you just got to go and ride that trail. Yeah. And then I think 9/11, some of the trails that we're going to ride tomorrow. Okay. They're just like big natural enduro trails where you're out there on your bike for 20 minutes to a half an hour, and the surface changes so much. So yeah, those any of those kind of trails under the sun. Oh. Really.
Nice. Well, we've come to the point in the podcast where it's called in Norwegian skiftestolen, which is skiftestolen, that's the beer talking, which is kind of like the confession box. So we're going to welcome you into the confession box. Cue the sound effects, which we're going to put in afterwards.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Door.
Now I can hear the sound of like the Empire music. Dom, dom, dom.
Yeah, not this elevator music that's in the background.
Thank Christ,
going on
anything will be better than that, actually.
Yeah. So everyone's got their mountain bike sins, and you know, you've been in mountain biking for a long time.
Too long to have not sinned.
You got a lot of skeletons in the cupboard.
How many sins did I just commit today?
This is your.
Yeah, you guys are doing fine, man. The improvement, I can see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, the top of the climb, it's 5 minutes away. It's just around that next corner up there. Oh no, shit, it's 3 more corners away, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm not alone in that. Every guy does that.
Yeah. So what is weighing heaviest on your shoulders as a mountain biker? There's something that there's some sin that's there.
Every time that I get down at the back of a group and they've completely ran away from me, and then I claim that I had a puncture.
That's a good one.
And can you imagine, guys, how long that took me to replace that puncture, but still I was only 3 minutes behind you on this 4-minute track. Oh man, good question. Jesus. I can't think of anything.
You never like tried speed suits or anything like that when you were doing that down?
I mean, I shaved my legs, but I did stop before the crucial line. So I wish I could say that. It's like I know what it's like to have hair growing back on your private bits, but I can't say that.
Shaving your legs.
Of course I was there in the. Like it would have been easy to say up until answer this question up until about 5 years ago, because the 80s hadn't returned. Yeah. So I would have said that, well, I was one of the people who was wearing fluorescent 1980s Oakleys with Lycra and styrofoam helmets with stems that were like 150 mil long and handlebars which were slightly narrower than that. But now that's all the rage, isn't it? So that doesn't go anywhere.
Yes. Pit Viper sunglasses and stuff.
I think actually perhaps the darkest secret will be that if anybody out there, if you ever hear me saying that, well, the reason why that I ride an e-bike, because I was a quick convert to e-bikes, probably about 8 years ago actually. And there are some medical caveats, but which I won't bore you about. But actually, if you ever hear me saying like, oh, well, you know, I had to start on an e-bike, well, because my heart and, you know, my grandfather and stuff, well, then you're allowed to know that actually that's mostly bullshit. And that I just got to the point that, do you know what, I've been I've been earning my turns for a long time now. And you know what? But actually, in my defense, the one thing about what I quickly discovered about e-bikes all those years ago is that, you know, you hear everybody saying that, well, you know, it's particularly back then, you got a lot of hate, you know, there was a lot of people that like, you know, you're cheating and et cetera, and sure, yeah, you know, you are actually, because you are getting assistance on the climbs and so forth. And,
is it cheating if you take a car as well? I don't understand the whole cheating. I never understood the cheating thing because people it said that I rode to and from work on an e-bike many years ago before I knew that they had full suspension stuff. And some people said it was cheating then. And one of the guys that said it, he was riding a motorbike. And he also rode a normal bike, but when he rode a normal bike, he thought it was cheating. Yeah. But he didn't see, like, if you drive a motorbike or a car, that's cheating too.
So is a shuttle vehicle, is that cheating?
Yes,
or
must obviously
or a
be.
chairlift.
Yeah, or a chairlift.
Well, that's the right kind of cheating, actually.
Exactly,
I mean, because it's not actually attached to the bicycle.
But it's not cheating because the thing is, if you ride an e-bike, you ride an e-bike. If you ride a motorcycle, you ride a motorcycle. If you ride a car, you ride a car. If you ride a plane, you're definitely cheating.
That's the thing. A lot of the guys, there's a couple of guys I know who are like really anti e-bikes. Yeah. And they're like in bike parks like probably 20 days a year.
What the fuck? I mean, like if you ride a plane, you're cheating the whole jumping game. Like people like best free riders in the world, they could jump like 120 foot. A plane can ride around the Earth. You cannot like compare different things and say that one is cheating.
And this is the thing is that I think
e-bike is an e-bike. It's not a.
And the thing is that they are really great at going uphill.
Yeah.
The thing is that what people weren't talking enough about back then is just how well they go downhill. And the thing is that with all that mass around the bottom bracket and so forth, they're very stabilizing. They're very and when the thing that you're riding on is quite calm underneath you, then again your head is calm, means your body gets relaxed, means you can relax into the trail, right? And think of all the other people out there that have had a blown out knee, you know, because they played football when they were a kid, or they had a hip operation or whatever. And all those people that can get back into riding a bike because there's a motor on it, you know? It's the greatest thing ever. And so it's
that's
like
a very good thing, but I think even a healthy guy or girl that just wants to have an e-bike habits.
Dude, we all use technology. Like it's like e-bike it's just the way that you use it. If you ride around with it in like chipped turbo mode with the saddle down all the time, not sweating, okay, maybe that isn't. Other than that, you're out with your mates and you're in countryside and stuff.
It doesn't help you get in better shape if you do what you said now. But if you ride an e-bike and want to get in a better shape, you can.
Oh, dude, you can. You can. And so that's what I would. That would be my confession, is that I was a quick convert to e-bikes. I quickly the excuses were, and I say that there is a little bit of truth to it, but I won't bore you with the medical stuff. Is that it was like, well, you know, I got to get into to control the heart rates and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? I realized that I didn't fall in love when I got into an e-bike because of the climbs. I fell in love with the way it went downhill, motherfucker. They are amazing. And once you get them up to speed, like old school downhill bikes, they just float and fly, and you can have so much fun on them. So that's my dirty little secret, if it's worth anything.
Well, it's I kind of appreciate that, and like especially like running up to this trip. I've had some virus, I don't know, and I haven't been able to ride or train or anything. And then just to kind of get my body moving, I had to get on my e-bike. And like, if I didn't have an e-bike, like I would have turned up here like without riding. And
all those times when you're sat on the sofa, and you got that 2-hour window, before you got to pick up the kids or whatever. And if you had an analog bike, you'd just like, well, see that cloud in the distance. It looks like it's going to rain. And, I only have an hour and 49 minutes because I've been contemplating for the last 11 minutes, right? Or you could just jump on your e-bike and to put it into turbo and you get off the sofa as opposed to eating a packet of crisps. And you could just do that little loop, right? Totally. And that's you out the door, means you're mentally more there with it, you know, like your heart is flowing around. You feel better for yourself because you've conquered your will.
So then you can take the normal bike when you feel better.
Bingo, that's right. Which then, of course, it quickly got mothballed. And
no, actually, I think I've gone like 50-50 right now. It's,
yeah, I'm back to 50-50 on the.
So I think like.
We have to make some, make some penance.
And I'm also going to kind of give you like I kind of don't want to, but I'm going to give you like a little bit of a punishment because like basically we had 3 hours sleep and you took us down these like trails.
Told you I was trying to kill you. The quality of your bikes, I was just like, right, well, I need 2 sized L and XL higher bikes.
So how many Hail Marys?
20 Hail Marys.
20 Hail Marys. 20 Hail Marys.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Does that mean 20 shots of tequila? Bring it on.
Might be.
Yeah, you could do it, And I think you have to do one run down the trail which had like that narrow chute thing that I kind of got hung up on.
On Taxi Driver.
Yeah, and you're going to have to do that in full, we're kind of like retro downhill lycra.
Oh, I've got all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got like some sort of late 80s.
Yeah. And post it on Instagram. And
my 7 followers will probably not care.
And claim that the aero gains were so good that you saved time.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. It is worth it to see the expressions on your faces yesterday. I would do it all over again.
That's so cool. Thank you so much for inviting us down here. Thank you so much for scaring the hell out of us and also making us
riding with you
better riders.
Yeah, we
really appreciate that.
We're evolved already, and it's only first 1.5 days.
We've only had 2 beers and we're better already.
I was just going to say, well, wait until the 4 more beers that are yet to come.
And how do people get in contact with you? How do people find you?
Well, so Instagram, it's just Switchbacks MTB, all one word. The web, it's switch with a -sign backs.com, and Facebook, I think it's just Switchbacks. But Instagram's probably the...
Yeah, and we'll put a link in the show notes.
Probably the easiest way to get in touch.
If you go to our Instagram page, we'll save all the stories in a... What's the story saver function? Is I don't remember what it's called. You can save all the stories from a period of time in memory or something.
Definitely. And you obviously, like we were talking about earlier, you have guides that can accommodate both your downhillers and your noobs.
I saw a lot of downhillers, like the Swedish guys from the Swedish mountain bike school. What's it called again? I forgot the name. A lot of Norwegians go to that Swedish school as well.
So they come out every winter. So they're sort of like the extreme end of the spectrum, shall we say?
Yeah, they came with downhill bikes.
Full-on pinners. Do all those circus tricks that I can't do.
They are rich.
And they're young and got their whole lives in front of them.
And they crash hard every time
and just still stand up and dust themselves off like nothing happened.
No problem.
Or tomorrow, for example, perhaps the other extreme is that we've got a week of people that are coming out to basically learn how to ride.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and you can do coaching as well.
So we're literally going to start with like cones and this is a mountain bike and this is your body positioning and these are your brake levers and this is how you, literally. These are, what happens when your weight is over the handlebars or behind the saddle, you know, on and on and on, to dissect it, to kind of put it into people, like sort of kind of go back to school. And then that schooling, then we go out on the trail and then we apply it like sometimes corner by corner or section by section. And so there's the full spectrum of...
But you told us earlier that you have some beginner trails, but that they sort of rained away a little bit.
Right now, exactly. Yeah, which is going to be kind of challenging for the people who are arriving tomorrow who want to learn, but we'll figure it out. There's you guys asked me earlier and I said, this is a really difficult question. I don't even know the answer to myself, and which was that you asked me the difference between the riding location, the summer riding location in Sierra Nevada, and the winter location where we are here in Malaga. And I would say that Malaga is like, if you had a 0 to 10, 0 as in fast flow, easy trails, to 10 double black diamond type tracks, that's Malaga.
Oh yeah, you have everything.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And then the summer location is kind of like more like a 4 to an 8.
Okay.
It chops off the extremes. Yeah. Doesn't have particularly easy and it doesn't have the super hard.
Yeah, okay. So Malaga is really the most flexible of all.
Oh, for sure, because it's, and it goes back to that thing about the different riding locations, and each location has its different personality. And the other bonus about it is that, as I suggested, we started here as a downhill only thing. So almost all of our trails are actually fully shuttled. And so then, as in you guys experienced on the SRAM test track yesterday, first rundown was like, oh my goodness gracious, maybe it's been a longer winter than I thought. And, you know, to like fourth rundown, it's like, yeah, I got this. I'm good. I've arrived in Malaga. And that's because we could shuttle the same thing, doing slight variations of the same track. Things which looked a little bit dodged the first time become familiar. That then makes you feel good on the bike, relaxes your mind, and around and around and around you go. So that's one of the, I think, again, it's like one of the most rewarding things about here is that just, you can learn, and it's the money back guarantee thing. You can learn 5 to 10 years of riding a mountain bike here in 4 days. For sure.
Yeah.
With the right little bit of coaching, if you fancy.
Sweet. All right. Well, we've got another day riding tomorrow.
We've got another beer coming.
We've got another beer coming, and I think we'll just before the third very large beer goes down, I think we're just going to end this podcast here.
Yeah, before we get silly.
Yeah, and
more silly.
Before it gets even more silly.
Sillier.
Thank you for inviting us here. Thank you for being on the podcast, and I really hope that people at home are inspired to take contact and check out what Malaga and eventually probably maybe Sierra Nevada has got to offer. Switchbacks.
It's a very good way to ride in the winter or just round off the winter as we do.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, it is a good way to. It's either way. It's a great way to delay the winter or to kick the season off. I would suggest. Yeah. You know, like a January time. Where it's like proper dark and you're just like, oh my God, Christmas is come and gone and I'm still hungover from New Year's 2 weeks ago. I need something to look forward, man.
Yeah, actually, I would ideally have done it if I could decide my own time and not my wife did it. I would actually end the year and start the year this way because at the end of the autumn, I feel like I'm at my absolute best riding ability because I've been going faster and faster on more and more slippy autumn things, but it's the only thing you ride is terrible trails, and you feel like I can't stop now because now my control is at peak. I'm peak at my game. There's no competitions, there's nothing to do with it. It's just nobody knows because I usually ride off by myself because nobody rides in the rain.
If it hadn't been for the end of the season, you would definitely got that pro contract.
Yeah.
Factory.
Oh yeah.
Seat.
If I just,
With private jets.
if you just go here and
Syndicate.
just cash in on the skills.
Goldstone, we're moving you out.
That's
right.
It's not like
Goldstone.
And maybe
Never heard
Michael
of
will
him.
get a better impression of me than like the beginner's style yesterday.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't have that like, oh my God, where is stabilizers impression?
Why are these guys having an MTB podcast? They can't even ride down the hill.
I didn't realize they were sending their road cyclists out.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh,
It's been really
cheers,
great
guys.
to talk to you, man. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. And let's get another beer
And skål.
Skål.